If you run more than one account online, you've probably asked the question this video answers, which is safer for multi-account work, cloudf.one or AdsPower? Let's go through it honestly because the answer is not the same for everyone. Here's the one-line difference before anything else. Cloud.one is a real physical Android phone in Singapore on its own real Singapore mobile IP that you control from your browser. AdsPower is an anti-detect browser that runs many isolated browser profiles on your desktop, each one paired with a proxy you bring yourself. One is a real device. The other is a spoofed desktop browser. So the split is simple to say and important to understand. On one side, you have a real mobile device on a real mobile network. On the other side, you have a clever browser that pretends to be many different computers. Both are aimed at people running lots of accounts, which is why they get compared. But they are solving the problem at different layers. Quick word on who's talking, so you know this isn't a sales pitch dressed up as advice. I run a real cloud phone farm in Singapore. Real Samsung handsets on a rack, each with its own Singapore mobile SIM from Singtel M1 or StarHub, each reachable from a browser. I'm not neutral and I'll tell you exactly where AdsPower is the better pick because pretending otherwise would waste your time. Let me explain how AdsPower actually works first because it deserves a fair description. AdsPower is an anti-detect browser. You install a desktop app, and inside it you create profiles. Each profile is a fully isolated browser environment with its own cookies, its own local storage, and its own fingerprint. The fingerprint is the set of small signals a website reads to tell one visitor from another. Things like your canvas hash, your WebGL signature, your fonts, your time zone, your screen size, your language. AdsPower gives each profile a different, consistent set of those signals, so to a website, each profile looks like a separate person on a separate computer. Then you attach a proxy to each profile. AdsPower does not give you the IP. You bring your own proxy provider, and that proxy decides where the profile appears to be in the world. So a profile is two parts: the spoofed browser fingerprint from AdsPower and the IP from whatever proxy you plugged in. This is genuinely good engineering, and for the right job, it works well. If you're running 50 Facebook ads accounts or 20 Shopify stores or a stack of Google Ads logins, AdsPower lets you keep all of those separate on one machine. The profiles don't leak into each other. You can run dozens side by side. Agencies use the team sharing features to hand profiles around. The price is reasonable and it scales fast because spinning up a new profile costs you almost nothing. So where's the catch? The catch is what the platform on the other end can actually check. A browser, even a perfectly tuned one, is still a browser. It can present a fingerprint, but everything in that fingerprint is software reporting numbers. A determined platform can probe deeper. It can look for the tiny inconsistencies that show up when one machine is hosting many identities. It can check whether the proxy IP behaves like a real home or mobile connection or like a data center relay. It can correlate behavior across profiles. AdsPower fights all of this well, but it is fundamentally an arms race of spoof versus detection. You are always one update behind the platform's newest check. One more thing worth saying about the proxy side, because it's where a lot of AdsPower setups quietly go wrong. The fingerprint can be flawless and the whole thing still falls apart at the IP. If the proxy you attached is a data center IP wearing a residential label, or an IP that's already been used and burned by someone else, the platform can see that no matter how clean your browser profile is. So with AdsPower, you're really maintaining two separate things: the spoofed fingerprint and a steady supply of clean IPs. And the IPs are the part most people underestimate. Now here's the part that matters most, and it's the reason people end up looking at cloud phones at all. A large and growing share of the platforms that matter are mobile first or mobile only. And a browser, anti-detect or not, cannot become a phone. Think about TikTok. You can log into the TikTok website, but the part that actually drives results, the For You feed, the posting flow, the creator tools, the live streams, all of that lives in the mobile app. And TikTok fingerprints hard on the device side. It reads your app version, your device model, your hardware sensors, your install ID, your advertising ID, the way your network behaves. A desktop browser profile cannot produce any of that because it isn't a phone and there's no phone there to read. Instagram is the same story. There's a web version, but Reels, Stories, direct messages at scale, the shopping tools, those are all built for the app. WhatsApp Business needs a real phone number tied to a real device that stays online. Carousel, Lazada, Grab, the regional super apps, ride hail, food delivery, those are mobile app first and often mobile only for the people selling and operating on them. AdsPower can't reach into that world. And to be clear, that's not a flaw in AdsPower. It's just the wrong category for that job. An anti-detect browser is built to win the browser fingerprint game. It was never built to be a mobile device, so when the platform demands a real mobile device, the browser has nothing to offer. This is where cloudf.one sits. You rent a real Android phone in a Singapore data center. It's an actual handset with a real IMA, real build properties, real sensors, a real install ID, and a real Singapore mobile SIM. So its IP is a genuine Singapore mobile carrier IP. The phone is yours full-time on a monthly plan, and you control it through your browser the same easy way you'd use any web tool. Now think about the safety framing because this is the whole point of the comparison. With an anti-detect browser, safety comes from how well you spoof. Every signal is a thing you're faking and hoping the platform doesn't see through. With a real phone, there is nothing to spoof. TikTok asks the device what it is, and the device tells the truth because it's a real Singapore phone on a real Singapore network. There are no fake sensor values to catch, no data center IP to flag, no mismatch between what the browser claims and what the hardware reports. The safest fingerprint is the one you didn't have to invent. That's the core of it. An anti-detect browser is a very good lie. A real phone is not lying at all, and detection systems are built to catch lies, not to catch the truth. It also changes how much can go wrong over time. With a spoofed setup, every platform update is a chance for a new check to catch something your fingerprint didn't account for, and you have to wait for AdsPower to react and patch it. With a real phone, there's no patch to wait for because you weren't faking anything in the first place. The platform can add as many device checks as it likes. A real Singapore phone just keeps answering them honestly. That stability is a big part of what people mean when they say a real device is safer. And trust matters too, not just truth. A Singapore mobile carrier IP from Singtel, M1, or StarHub carries a reputation that platforms quietly score. It looks like a normal person on a normal phone because that's exactly what it is. A proxy sitting in front of a desktop browser, even a good one, starts from a weaker position because the IP ranges are shared, recycled, and easier to flag, so a real phone wins on two fronts at once. Nothing to spoof on the device, and a connection that already looks trustworthy. So let me be fair and lay out where AdsPower clearly wins because it does. Cost is the obvious one. A new browser profile is nearly free to create, so if you need 50 or 100 identities, AdsPower is far cheaper per identity than 50 physical phones could ever be. Scale and speed go with that. You can spin up profiles in minutes, run dozens at once on a single laptop, and tear them down just as fast. For desktop-first work, ad accounts, e-commerce dashboards, anything that lives in Chromium, AdsPower is the natural fit because the work is already happening in a browser. If your whole operation is web-based and you don't touch a single mobile-only platform, you probably don't need cloud phones at all. Don't pay for infrastructure you won't use. And here's where a real phone wins. Plainly, anytime the job touches a mobile app that checks the device, a real phone is the only thing that holds up over time. Mobile apps read sensor data, hardware identifiers, and carrier signals that a browser simply cannot produce. A real handset passes those checks because it isn't passing a check at all, it's just being a phone. On top of that, cloudf.one ships the IP with the device. You don't have to go hunting for clean Singapore proxies and hope they're not already burned. The SIM is in the phone, so the connection is a real Singapore mobile network connection from the start. For Singapore targeted work, that removes a whole category of risk and a whole shopping trip for proxies. So what's the trade-off in one breath? AdsPower is cheaper and scales web profiles fast, but it can only ever spoof, and it can't enter the mobile app world. A real phone costs more per identity, and you can't conjure 100 of them in an afternoon, but it leaves nothing to detect and it goes where browsers can't. Now the honest part about picking. These are not really enemies. A lot of operators run both, and that's often the smartest setup. You use AdsPower for the website, Facebook ads, Google ads, Shopify, affiliate networks, anything in Chromium. And you use cloudf.one for the mobile side, TikTok, Instagram, WhatsApp Business, Carousel, the regional apps. The budgets don't even fight because each one covers a surface the other can't. One tool per layer. So here's how to decide. If every account you run lives in a desktop browser and none of your platforms demand a real mobile device, pick AdsPower and stop there. It's the right tool, it's cheaper, and adding phones would just be waste. If any meaningful part of your work is on a mobile-only or mobile-first platform, especially TikTok, Instagram, or WhatsApp, and especially if you need to look like a real person in Singapore, then a real phone is the safer foundation because there's nothing left to spoof and nothing left to catch. And if you're already on AdsPower and the browser side is clean, but you keep getting flagged on the mobile apps, that's your signal. The missing layer isn't a better browser fingerprint. It's a real device. Don't throw AdsPower away. Just add a real phone for the part AdsPower was never built to reach. So the verdict, plainly, for pure web account isolation at scale on a budget, AdsPower is the safer and smarter pick for that job. For mobile app work where the platform checks the device, cloudf.one is safer because a real phone has nothing to spoof and a real Singapore mobile IP carries trust that no proxy in front of a desktop browser can match. And for a full Singapore growth stack, the honest answer is usually both, each on the surface it owns. If you want to feel the difference instead of taking my word for it, cloudf.one has a free 48-hour trial on the site, no card needed. Spin up a real Singapore phone, check the IP yourself, open your app, install it, and watch how the platform responds compared to your browser setup. That single test usually answers the safety question faster than any comparison video can. If this was useful, subscribe because the next one goes deeper on mobile fingerprinting, exactly what apps like TikTok read off a device, why a real phone passes those checks, and why even a perfect browser fingerprint can't. That's the layer this whole comparison really turns on, and it's worth understanding on its own.